Hello, my darlings. So we have a little bit of a PSA, a little bit of a quick warning before you attempt anything involving candles, fire, anything at all. Please practice safe planning. This is a precursor to the cord cutting video, but of course this comes into play anytime you're doing anything that works with fire, whether that is using candles or if you're going to be using a smudge stick and burning quite a bit. Anytime you do that, make sure that you are using something that is going to be fireproof. Make sure that you have at least 2 different ways to put out the flame if it gets out of control. Make sure that any dishes or anything you're using are not only fire safe but are big enough for the project you're working with. As you are going to see in the video, mine got a little bit out of hand. This dish, which is slightly bigger than my palm, as you can see here, it just barely comes over the edge, is not big enough for 2 candles. Even 2 candles that are relatively small in stature, like this, once everything starts burning down, it is not big enough, because if these fall over, as you can see, they are the same size as the dish. So if they're in the middle and they tip over, that is a burning candle that's going to hit your stuff and possibly start a fire. Now, as you can tell, everything is fine. Nothing caught on fire, except for a little bit of the herbs in here. The entire string that I used, both candles completely burned down. Wicks burned down 100%. Also, be very careful if you're doing something like a cord cutting, the type of rope you use. I use something natural like this, but it was much thicker than this. It was about this thick versus this, which is extremely thin and easy to work with. So use something thin that is going to burn and split very quickly and fall down very easily. Do not use anything that is wax treated or sealed or anything of that nature. You do want to use something natural, because some of those wax sealants and stuff that they use on different cords will burn worse and can throw chemicals that are bad for you to inhale, so be very careful of that. And use a bigger dish. Ideally, I should have used something at least this big, if not a little bigger, to contain everything. I did have the candles in salt, which helped a little bit with making sure that they did not fall over, but the herbs started catching on fire. Between that, the cord being much thicker of a natural fiber, and then both candles eventually catching completely on fire, it ended up being a pretty big flame. I had water on hand. I also had something to smother everything with on hand. I was able to smother the flames very quickly, make sure everything was going to be safe. But you have to make sure that you have all those resources right next to you on the sides of your table. You don't need to be running around trying to grab them when you're doing something like this, because the last thing you need to do is be looking, taking your eyes off the situation, because you need to keep an eye on everything very closely. Again, as you can see, everything's fine. Nothing caught on fire. I am not burned or damaged whatsoever. I had it under control, but these fires can very quickly get bigger than you planned on. So just be extra safe. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to damage any of your things. Fire can be unpredictable in the best of times. So just a quick little warning, and let's get into the video and watch how the pyrotechnics played out. Hello, my darling doves. Welcome back. We are going to have a bit of fun today doing something slightly different. We are going to attempt to demo a cord cutting ritual. Now this is going to be a bit different, because usually a cord cutting ritual is very personal. It's something that you do not only if you're going through a nasty breakup or something like that, but if you're leaving a work environment where it was draining all of your energy, if you have a particular friend or friend group or family member that's been draining a lot of your energy, energy vampires, some like to call them, and you just need to create a little bit of distance there. A cord cutting can help to protect your energy by pulling back and creating a boundary around you that divides you from them. It's not a malicious thing. Again, if it's a family member, they can still be in your life. This is just going to help create an extra level of spiritual protection against the way that they draw from you. It can also be great for a breakup, a friend breakup, anything like that too, to help sever ties and get that person out of your head. If you're having trouble forgetting them or moving on, this is definitely a great tool to use to help you get there. So normally you can do this one of several ways. You can do it through meditation. You don't necessarily need all of these tools. I've just done kind of a mismatch hobnob of different things so that you can tailor this to whatever works best for you with the supplies you have available. So all of this is not necessary, but pick and choose which parts you need. They are perfectly interchangeable. You don't have to do every single step for a simple cord cutting. The white candle and the black candle tend to be the best, symbolically speaking, to represent yourself and the energy that you're wanting to pull away from. I've got them in sand right now. This is not salt. This is some ritual sand that I had from our previous jars that we made that I'm using as a buffer for when we light the candles to cut the cord. We're going to cut it via fire. You do not have to use fire. You can also tie the cord in a knot and cut it yourself to symbolize cutting the cord. But I like to use fire because I'm a pyromaniac. Woo! So this is going to act as just a buffer to absorb some of that for us once it gets to that point so that we don't have any crazy accidents. I'm hoping I don't need a fire extinguisher. We do have 2 stones here. If you are a stone kind of person, you can just carry these with you once the ritual is complete to keep that energy. We've got black obsidian here and green goldstone here. So the black obsidian I'm going to put on this side. It represents protection, shielding, manifestation as well. So we're keeping it on the side of what you're wanting to pull away from to amplify our manifesting of pulling back from that person, and the shielding energy to protect you from whatever is drawing on you. The green goldstone we're going to put on your side. It's great for healing, protecting your heart, protecting and cleansing your thoughts. So if it's someone that you're having trouble getting out of your head and moving on from, the green goldstone is great for that. So that's going on our side of the playing field, as it were. And then 2 new herbs here. No, I haven't jarred them yet, my bad. But we have blessed thistle here. Blessed thistle is a great healing herb, also good for hex breaking, purification, protection, vitality, and fighting depression. So since we're wanting to purify, protect, and cord cutting ceremonies can also be used to break hexes from people that you know well, that you think have just infiltrated your entire circle and your entire life. Blessed thistle is great for dealing with that. Very strong protective herb. And I'm going to sprinkle the herbs outside the ring of sand for the ritual. Again, just for some of that fire safety that we were talking about, because we want the herbs involved, but I don't necessarily want to light them on fire. I'm sure they would be fine if I did light them on fire, but I don't want to have to call the fire department today. So as you can see, spreading a thin line around the far outside of the sand, as unbroken of a line as possible, because you want to keep the circle strong. And if at any point doing this, which again, this is not required, this is just me being extra and giving you lots of options and ways to incorporate different things into a cord cutting. if you do this and like the candles get knocked over or whatever, we're not going to keep the candles in this position. I still have to tie the actual cord around them. I just had them setting up for show. So they will still be moved. You can move them a few times until you light them on fire. Once you light them on fire, please try not to grab them or move them too much. Again, mostly it's just a safety thing. I don't want you to burn yourself. I often burn myself with candles when I'm doing these videos, and it's not very fun. So I'd rather you not do that yourself. Now, while you're setting up this ritual, and then during the ritual itself, you're going to focus on meditating on the persons, or the situation itself that is causing this energy drain. Whatever is giving you grief, that is making you do this cord cutting, you want to be focusing on that. This is ginger root. Ginger root is also another one of those. Oh, I guess there's a big old hole in the middle of the staple. Ginger root is another one of those that is great for manifestation. Definitely toward healing, protection, spell enhancements. Can also be used for prosperity, abundance, love, and luck. But ginger specifically is really good for healing and protection enhancements. So we're going to add some ginger root. And if you have someplace like Faye's nearby, or even if you don't, because their website is wonderful, nothing I'm using is super expensive. The candles were $1 a piece. The ginger and the blessed thistle were both $3 a bag. Nothing crazy expensive. And the small tumbled stones at Faye's are, I think, $2 each. And then the cord I already had from some lavender bundles from a while ago when I bought a whole bunch of them. So nothing I'm using here is super expensive. Could you find all this stuff cheaper? Probably. Can you also use different herbs? Yes. Can you do all of this without actually buying all of this stuff? Because like I said, you can do this just purely through manifestation, chanting, energy work kind of deal. Also, yes, this is not necessary. You do not need a large apothecary or deep pockets to work spells. You just need a whole lot of intention and a little bit of knowledge to lay the groundwork to be successful. So when you see me setting up all of this and doing all of this, I definitely do not want you to feel like you also have to do all of this and buy all of this to be successful. Because trust me, I know financial struggles. This is kind of for the smoke show. This is kind of for the visual aspect for some of us visual learners out there. But it is not necessary. Some people might say it makes your spell more potent. Who knows if that's actually true? I personally believe that doing all this gives us a chance to hone in our focus. Because learning how to focus your energies, especially when you're newer to this kind of thing, can be challenging. It's hard to know how to direct your energies. You can see some of my other, how to get started with meditating, going to single point meditation to complete zero meditation, that kind of thing. Learning how to do this is hard. And it can take a lot of practice until you get it right. And even once you start getting it right, you might not see the results that you think you should be seeing right away. All right, time to take these out of the sand. And I'm going to wrap these twice because this is kind of a long cord and I did not think about the length of the cord when I got this out. So I'm going to keep it pretty loose because I want to have them kind of spaced out in the sand. So I'm going to keep it about that loose because that's about as far as I had them spaced out in the holder. And then I'm going to knot it twice just to make sure it doesn't come undone because this is a bit curly. kind of wiggle it around. And get the candles set back up in a way that they want to stand. There. Dagnabbit. And then see, that's going to happen. This is probably the hardest part, is just getting it to stand with the candles and the cord. And the space between now being all wonky and doing what it wants. And I put the sand in here to kind of help them stand up a little bit, but I'm wondering if it's maybe not deep enough to be all that useful. This is going to take a second. But you know what? For the sake of honesty, I'm not going to trim this. This video is going to be the full entire proper length, unless a train goes by or something and causes a whole bunch of awful noise. So that you can see that this is not easy, and none of us get it right the first time around. Okay, there we go. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed that I don't knock this. Shoot! They're really close together at the top. That's usually not a good thing. Hey, there we go. This might actually hold this time. So fingers crossed we don't get a train or anything coming by. Oh, I just completely died. Okay, the wick on the black candle is just not wanting to cooperate. Let's keep trying. One way or another, we're lighting both of these bad boys today. Oh, there we go. That might have done it. Alright. So while it's burning down, because we're going to be here for a fair minute till we get down to that cord, just keep focusing on what you're trying to get back. Not what you're trying to push away, but what you're trying to get back. What you're trying to get back is your energy and your peace. And you're cutting this cord to save your own energy. You're doing it because it's what's best for you. And it's not selfish to worry about protecting your energy and protecting your peace. There's absolutely nothing wrong with making that your priority. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We've all been there. Bad jobs, bad relationships, friendship, family members that don't know how to back off. Some people can help it, some people can't. They don't know any better. That doesn't make it an excuse. That doesn't mean they get free access to our energy just because they don't know any better. So we are doing this for ourselves. We are doing this to protect ourselves. We are doing this to support and love ourselves. Now, as this is burning down, I want you to visualize your energy glowing inside you. And all the things that you give energy to during the average day, the average week. Most of us have a lot of energy we give to work or to school And that might be one thread that splits off. That might be one designated kernel inside you that gets lit up with energy. Whichever method you want to use to visualize that. There's also, of course, the energy we give to our friends and family. Parents, siblings, children. Take a lot of energy. And we're talking mental and physical and emotional energy. All three of those are very important. For instance, you can have a job that's not physically demanding, but is very mentally demanding, something that requires a lot of brain power through the day. Or you could have a job that's very physically demanding, but doesn't require you to think about a whole lot. You just have to do. You just have to keep working. Or a job that requires a lot of emotional work, a lot of creative work, a lot of social energy. Those are all valid. They're just different. So sometimes they feel different. But that can take a lot of energy. And then your relationships. If you have a spouse, a long-term partner, a situationship, if you're just talking to someone right now, talking to a couple people right now because you're keeping your options open, that can still take a lot of energy. And there's nothing wrong with pulling back some of that energy for yourself. Saying, hey, I've given a lot lately, and it feels like all you're doing is taking. So I'm going to pull back that energy for myself right now. And that is perfectly okay for you to do. You don't need anyone's permission to do that. If it's best for you, it's best for you. That's all that matters. And then I want you to think about how much energy you put aside for yourself. Because that is a very important part of how we go about our daily lives. How much energy do you save for yourself? For the things you want to do? Hobbies, interests, the things that you do to relax. We're not all out here saving the world, but that doesn't make it any less important to have that time for yourself. Because having those interests, having those passions is part of what keeps us human and part of what keeps us whole and happy and fulfilled. And that's important for each and every one of us. Doesn't matter who you are, you deserve that time. And you deserve to keep some of that energy for yourself. And some people will try to kill you, saying that, well, if you have time for this thing you enjoy, you should be able to have more time for what I'm asking you for. And that's not okay. There is a big difference between helping out when you can and when you are up for it, and someone demanding that you help out just because you're not doing something that they see as particularly productive in their scope. I know so many people in my life that I love dearly that always have to be doing something, and they very rarely slow down to just relax a little bit, because they think if they don't keep going and don't keep pushing and don't keep working toward the next thing, that they're lazy or that they aren't trying hard enough, because it gets so ingrained into all of us. This need for constant work work, work. If you're not working, you should be doing a side hustle. If you're not at a side hustle, you should be creating content. Monetize every minute of your life. If you're not doing that, you should be doing self-improvement work. Only read nonfiction self-help books so that you can be a better person, be a better parent, be a better partner, be a better this, be a better that. And to some degree, self-improvement like that, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, social, is very healthy. I'm not saying it's not. We should all try to be the best person we can be. But if you're taking a little bit of time to sit down and read a silly book that isn't winning any awards for being groundbreaking in the world of fiction, but it makes you happy and it's enjoyable, that's okay. If you're watching a TV show that some people would call reality trash or, oh, it doesn't add anything to society, who cares? As long as no one and nothing is being hurt, who cares? You're enjoying it and you're taking some time and some peace for yourself. Or if you paint, or if you crochet, or if you garden, you should have that time to enjoy it and make it a part of you being a whole person. And people that tell you otherwise, especially if they're using that argument to get you to do something for them, don't deserve your time. And that's what we're cutting cords from. We're cutting the cord of unrealistic expectations. We're cutting the cord of demands that leave us no room to be ourselves. Being a human is hard enough without everyone else's expectations on top of it. I can't really tap on anything right now because I'm afraid of tipping the candles over. So you're just gonna have to settle for some nice fluffy finger motions right now. Trying to think. I don't know why it is, but when I do stuff like this, I always go counterclockwise. I think clockwise is summoning and counterclockwise is banishing, if I'm remembering correctly. But I could be completely backward, and I could be doing actually summoning right now, and clockwise is banishing. But if I'm summoning good intentions. I'm summoning a clean break. I'm summoning the mental fortitude to hold to it, because a clean break like this can be hard to maintain by yourself. I read somewhere the other day that the feeling of ignoring someone or something on purpose because it's caused you harm in the past is the same physical pain as getting punched in a muscular area of your body. So on the arm, on the leg, not necessarily your stomach or anywhere with vital organs that are unprotected, but it's the same feeling as being punched on a muscular part of your body. It hurts. The pain lingers. There's bruising. It doesn't fade very fast. So if you are using this cord cutting to cut ties with a specific person who's been draining all of your energy, and you are needing to stop communicating with them entirely to protect your peace, it's not going to be a one and done process. You're not going to do this one time and immediately feel like you don't ever need to speak to them again and everything has been completely solved. I wish it was that easy. I do. I wish there was an easy solution for you. But it takes a few tries. And usually it's not even quite so much them. It's our mental and our physical reaction to them keeps us coming back. Because I'm sure many of us have been caught in that cycle where they're not even that good for you. And maybe some of the interactions that you have aren't even that good for you. But you're so stuck on the idea of them that that part doesn't matter. And you keep coming back for more because you don't know how not to. So cord cuttings are also good for that. But you may have to repeat the visualization process of the cord cutting a couple times to get that to stick. And to remind yourself that you need your energy for you. And to keep the healing process going. There's a lot of things in life that just aren't that easy. But if they were easy, then they wouldn't be problems. And if they weren't problems, we wouldn't be coming up with solutions like this. But that's also kind of the fun of it. Is coming up with new solutions. And I might be the only one that finds it a little funny when we do stuff like this. How much of it is just good intention, all rolled into a pretty package with a bunch of extra stuff on top. And I know they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't believe that. I believe sometimes good intentions can get you into more trouble than what you intended on in the first place. That was the problem with good intentions. But I don't think that means that we should forsake our fellow people, animals, situations, things happening. Because to me, that sentiment has always meant don't get involved. I think it just means get involved, but take every situation with a grain of salt. Don't go 0 to 60, just based off good intentions. Make sure you know what you're doing first. But hey, what do I know? I've only got a little over 30 years life experience. Well, a little over 31 years life experience. I can say there's been a couple times having good intentions got me in trouble, because good intentions can sometimes lead to being a little too nosy. And I think that's what they really meant when they said the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Being nosy is a curse. But you also don't want to act until you got all the facts, so sometimes being nosy is what you gotta do to find out what's really happening, right? Oops, see, that time I started going clockwise. It's very interesting. And this is a bit of a long process for sure. And that gives you lots of time to meditate on it. Really think about drawing that power back into yourself. If we're doing the thread analogy, pulling those threads back, coiling them in, weaving them around tighter and tighter and tighter so that they're coming back to you with all that energy you've been expending. And coiling that energy up on a spool and letting that sit inside your heart. Or if you think about the energy as kernels or pools of energy residing inside of you that you have delegated to pour into specific tasks or people, pulling those back in to your personal reservoir and making the energy inside yourself deeper and bringing it to your center. We haven't talked a lot about chakras and energy points in the channel. That may be one of our next forays of exploration. Because I think understanding your energy and where it comes from and how it moves is an important part of being able to work effectively with your energy. Hi, pretty girl. There's a good girl. You gotta say hi, little bug? You want to check it out? Yeah, it's a good girl. Thank you for being so quiet today. Kiss your little head. Usually she's very good at staying quiet during these videos, especially the ones where I have actual spell work going on. And the last couple attempts at tarot, not so much with the quietness, she got a little rowdy on us. But she's a good girl. We are starting to get much closer to our cable. Our cord. Originally the candles started all the way up here. About there. So we've burned through it pretty fast. Of course, we did all have trouble with the black candle when we got started, so it is slightly, ever so slightly higher than the white candle right now. There is also, and I don't think you're going to be able to see it on here, right here there is a bit of a strand crossing over. Oh shoot, there's a train coming. I'm going to pause for just a minute till that train passes so you don't have to hear all that. Okay, I think we're generally out of the danger zone as far as the train. That only took about a minute. As you can see, the candles haven't moved too terribly far. But as I was saying, there is a big loop of fiber right there, leaning up against the white candle. So if anything, once that candle dips about a third of an inch, we might start getting yes, pretty girl, I know. We might start getting a little bit of a show. But for now, we're just going to keep meditating on whatever it is we're cutting the cord from, pulling the energy back to ourselves. Whichever situation, job, relationship, person, people, taking our energy and pulling that back into ourselves. Again, I can't do any entertaining tapping because I don't want to knock the candles over. And sometimes it is just patience. I know most of the time when I'm doing stuff like this, I'm doing jars like our delightful spell jars back here that have a noticeable end result. When we're finished making the item, we seal it up, we're done. This is one of the times where we are waiting for the finalization of the spell itself. So that gives us more time to think, on what we're doing here. But it does also mean a lot of quiet time. And we're just processing. Get my feather to stand back up back there. And let's continue to meditate on this together. I'll take some deep cleansing breaths. And breathe in with me. Hold. Release. And all that we're worrying about right now is reclaiming our energy and our peace back from those who are misusing it. And they are no longer allowed to hold on to our energy. They are no longer allowed to live rent-free in our minds. We are going to focus inward. And we are going to push them out side of our shield. We are pushing them out of our frame of thought. And we are holding space for ourselves and the things that we need to save our energy for. Yes, good girl. We are getting much closer now. We are getting closer and closer. I know you can't tell, but the loop is right there now. So just a centimeter or two away from the flame of the candle. I don't think that loop catching is going to do very much as far as actually igniting the cord, but it's going to be a nice little starting point to see some movement happening. And it's also just kind of how I've been tracking how far down the cord has moved this whole time. I am definitely a visual person when it comes to my meditation, so having a target or a benchmark for what I'm working with definitely helps me keep my mind on track. Of course, I was trying to get the knot tied closer to the top of the candle, but as you saw, after several attempts to get the candles to stay upright, this is where the cord ended up. So we are just in it for a long haul today. everything happens for a reason. Including the candles insisting that they go all the way down there. And that could have been Fate's way of intervening and telling me that I needed to take a lot longer to personally think about where I'm cutting the cord and where I'm pulling back. Because I've definitely been guilty of overextending my energies before. One of those, you take an extra day off work to get some things done and you accomplish more than you thought you could have, but you're stuck kicking yourself because there's 7 other things you didn't get done. So even though you accomplished 10, those other 7 are just staring you in the face. But part of being human is also learning that it is okay to only get done what you can physically accomplish and not beat yourself up for not being able to do everything 10 times faster than a normal person. We are not superheroes. We are people doing the best with what we can do. Looks different for every person too. Not everyone can accomplish the exact same things in the same 24 hours as everyone else. Sometimes there's bigger obstacles. Sometimes it's just a matter of energy. Sometimes it's a matter of having more obligations than someone else has. That's one thing that kind of grinds my gears a little bit, is everyone has the same 24 hours. No, they don't. People have different commitments within those 24 hours. People have different bodies, different situations, so their 24 hours might look really different. And that is one thing that I am trying to cut the cord on, is those expectations that I can be Wonder Woman and get a million things done in a single day. Just because I know other people, like my boss, who is an incredibly amazing person, somehow manages to do 6 times more things in a day than I've ever dreamed. So I am coming to terms with the fact that I am not her, and I cannot do it even though I would like to. So that is one place where I am saving my energy and cutting back a little bit. Not on the trying to be productive and trying to be that good, but the expectation that I can be just as good. So I'm not cutting the cord on my job completely. I'm just cutting the cord of the unrealistic expectation that I've somehow put upon myself. And a lot of us are like that when it comes to jobs. We try to be the very best we can be, to the point where we work ourselves to burnout. And that's not healthy. And I don't know if that's an American thing or a current society thing, where we think if we work ourselves that hard, we're going to get everything we want out of life. But so far, that generally does not work out as well as we wish it would. It takes a lot more than just hard work to succeed at life. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes it's out-of-the-box situations. There's so much that goes into it that you can't beat yourself up for hard work not being the be-all end-all to your life. most of us, I would say, are very, very hard workers. It just takes more than that sometimes. Be it luck, timing, fate, something that happened 20 years ago, butterfly effect. Who knows? But you can't beat yourself up for it. Well, we are getting a lot closer. The loop that I was looking at is in the flame. I was right though, it did not really catch. It just kind of broke apart when the heat hit it because it was too thin of a filament. Or a fiber, if you will. Filament's the thing in light bulbs. I don't know why I got that word out. But we are getting closer to the actual meat of the situation with the cords here. And again, I'm just hoping I don't set the whole place on fire. So we're going to maintain that focus a little bit longer. I'm getting our energy and pulling it back to us. Cutting that cord. If you have scissors and a piece of thread somewhere, you can tie a loop and just cut through it. You can come up with a chant or a prayer, asking for help of the gods, help of the fates. The fates are especially good at that because they literally cut the thread of life, to help you with staying strong and maintaining your boundaries. Cord cutting is very similar to setting up boundaries, if it helps you to think about it in those terms. Because you're setting an expectation of your energy and how it's going to be used. But this is not one-dimensional, one-size-fits-all by any means. And like I said, you don't need all the bells and whistles and the stones and herbs and sand and candles to do a cord cutting. You have some strong intentions. And I know you can handle the strong intentions. Everything we do here is done with intention. None of that would say more than luck. Having a strong will will get you most places. Because that allows you to see things for what they could be and what you can make them. And thinking outside the box is always, always helpful. Much lower now. But not on the black candle on the far right side is just about to the edge of the melting wax. So I think at the very least, that part will light up pretty soon. So let's keep focusing. A nice long meditation on ourselves and our energy. And we are doing this for ourselves. Can't do a cord cutting for anyone else. I know that would be a fun concept. My bestie's stuck in a toxic cycle with this person that won't leave them alone. Let me do a cord cutting on their behalf so that they can finally let this toxic, abusive person go. Doesn't work that way. Cord cutting requires your energies and your intentions to manifest. Now, there are other things you can try to banish someone that you think is hurting a person from your friend's life. Try creating talismans to ward off evil or bad intentions and placing the talismans around their space. Jars, stones, gifting them a necklace. Herb sachets under their pillows, stick one in their underwear drawer, you know. But a cord cutting specifically, not so much going to work in that fashion. Nor do I think you should be doing spells that would meddle in someone else's aura and space without their at least knowledge of it. Again, talismans to ward off general ill intentions and evil. Sure, but if you're trying to get a specific person out of their life, that's when it gets a little more gray area. Oh, the wax is officially under the top of the knot on the black candle side. So the flame is starting to approach the knot. Oop. Ooh. We had a little flash there. Some of the extra fibers burn off. I'm just worried about these low-hanging bits right here. I really want to get them into the dish, but I also don't want to topple over whole candles. Always do this kind of thing very, very carefully and have a backup plan. Not be me setting stuff on fire without a backup plan. We are starting to get some dripping wax, because a lot of the wax is soaking into the rope. Oh, there we go. Now it's burning the cord. The whole thing should fall away pretty fast once it catches. Oh, that is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. Okay, there we go. Everything is contained inside the dish.